Can I just ask you a further point about contingency planning? Because you've mentioned in an earlier answer to Sir Bernard that you'll be issuing technical notices in August and September to those who need to know. What about the wider public? What sort of information will you be giving the wider public about all the different contingencies you're planning for in the event of no deal? And the costs that would be involved in that? Will you be very clear and transparent with everybody about the range of areas where you will be making preparations and making that information available to the public?
Well, I think we will be making more information available generally about the preparations that are being made. The technical notices are obviously very specific to those who need to consider how they personally or their business is preparing for the potential circumstance of no deal. By making those available, I mean, obviously that will be part of in making more information available more generally on the preparations that are taking place.
But as Lillian Greenwood has pointed out, there are very many wide-ranging areas in which no deal would not be better than a bad deal, where there could be very significant impacts on individuals. Will you be setting those out so that the public can see what the potential implications could be? I mean, we've, for example, on the Health Committee looked at very many implications. For example, if we don't have access to the European health insurance card after we leave the European Union in the event of no deal whatsoever, it would effectively mean that people with long-term health conditions would be uninsurable to travel to the European Union. Are these the kinds of areas that you'll be laying out to people?
Well, I think if I may, there's an issue here where we're looking to negotiate a deal and negotiate that by October. So, and at that point, of course, the question will come to Parliament. As to if we have the meaningful vote, we then have the potential waive, the withdrawal agreement and implementation bill. At the point at which it is, and at that point, with a deal and an agreed deal, then obviously it will become clear to people what the future relationship is going to be and the basis of that future relationship. I think if you're asking me to say, are we going to say to people here and now, if there is no deal, you will not be able to do A, B and C. I mean, what preparedness for no deal is about is making sure that government, that business, that those who have to take actions to prepare for no deal are able to do that, and do that in a timely way, because some of these may be actions which would take time to put into place.
That's right, but it's also about letting the public know well in advance what the kinds of issues will be arising for every government department and for them in their everyday lives as well.
Well, I think there's, at the point, if it were to be the case, we're working for a deal. We're working for a good deal.
We all appreciate that.
If it were to be the case that we were to be in a no-deal scenario, then obviously the information that it would be necessary for the public to have would be made available to them.
But the point is that it looks as if we're getting closer towards the possibility of no deal. Everyone appreciates that you would like to achieve a good deal. We all realise that. But this is about setting out very clearly what the consequences of no deal would be, what the planning necessary for that would be, and what the potential costs would be, so that that's very clear to the public.
Well, you based your question on an assumption that said that we were getting closer to a no-deal scenario. I don't believe that is the case. We have put forward a proposal for what the future relationship should be. We believe the future relationship should be with the European Union, and we're in negotiations on the basis of that. The timetable that I've set out in answer to other questions still remains in relation to working to having sufficient detail of this for agreed by October.
Okay, so I accept you don't see accept the premise of my question, but there is still that growing possibility. I feel that we could end up with a no-deal scenario. And my question was, will you be laying out for the public what the consequences of that will be very clearly?
Well, if we are in a no-deal scenario, then we will lay out the consequences for the public. What we are doing at the moment is working for a deal.
Yes,
where
no, I appreciate that, but
what we're doing is working for a deal.
Yes.
And that is the basis on which the Chequers Agreement was made, it's the basis on which the White Paper is made, it's the basis on which we started discussions with the European Union. So at this point, What we're doing is saying we will ensure, as we step up our no-deal preparations, we will ensure that those technical notices are issued over August and September, so that those who need to have that information have that information.
That clear. Prime Minister,
with due respect, I think what you're asking me to do is to do something else, which is to set out the argument for no deal versus the argument for a deal, rather than actually saying we're working for a deal.
No, I'm asking
we'll make
you,
sure that
Prime
those
Minister,
who
with
know.
respect, that's not. I'm asking you to set out for the public, because I think sometimes the public don't realise the scale of the issues that we would be facing, and the costs and the absolute necessity that we start planning now, because time is getting so short. So that's, I guess, my request to you is: will you agree to publish this? So that the public can see what the consequences are and what you're planning for.
What we will be doing is ensuring that more information is available on the preparations the government is making for no deal, that we publish the technical notices so that those who need to make the preparations for no deal are able to do so.
You have said, you've made that clear, Prime Minister. My concern was for the wider public understanding what the consequences are.